Hi, welcome back to part 2 of how to do with a case study. So as a continuation, we're going to deal with the role of a finance professional. So as a chartered global management accountant, a CGMA, you are a finance professional, and we need you to understand the roles that are expected of a finance professional. This is important because it will make you understand the level at which you are operating and what is expected of you when you are answering the strategic case study exams, and even the other case studies as well, because your roles, for example, on a managerial case study, you are expected to be a finance manager. And then at a strategic level, you are a finance strategist, somebody at the top level. So it is the same that is expected of you when you are writing or answering your case study exams. There is a level of depth that is expected of you that you need to demonstrate for you to pass this exam. So as a finance professional, you are expected to add value to an organization. It's no longer number crunching alone. It is now adding value, you streamlining costs, reducing costs, identifying problems, putting together policies for the betterment of the organization that you're working for or for the organization that you run. So this can be done through a process of assembling information, which means you have got information that may be unstructured or unstructured data, and you need to be able to assemble this information to come up with meaningful insights from it. So structured data from a range of relevant sources is usually collected, or that's what you are exposed to in an organization, and you need to clean it from its raw format and assemble it into meaningful information. B, you need to be able to generate insights. So analysis of both financial and non-financial information, which should lead to insights in order to improve performance of the organization. So from the data, you need to be able to generate insights. Okay, after obviously transform it into some meaningful information, you need to be able to generate insights from it. What is that data that we have transformed into meaningful information showing? What can we get from it, and what can we implement from it? What information are we getting that could aid decision making to directors and to people on the highest level, to the organization strategies? So that's what you're supposed to be able to do. And C, you need to be able to use this information and insights to influence decision makers. So your insights should be obtained and then used to advise and influence relevant stakeholders within the organization. So when I mean relevant stakeholders, I mean either the top management, either the middle management, I mean employees, I mean shareholders, and those that are really concerned and are interested in the organization's operations. Those are the people that should be able to be influenced by this information or these insights that you have gotten from this data that you had. And then D, you need to be able to achieve impact. So that whole information, those insights, and being able to influence decision makers should, at the lowest or at the minimum, be able to achieve impact. When I mean achieve impact, it means something has changed that may have changed for the better in the organization, either earning more revenue or reducing a significant amount of costs that aid more profitability for the organization or things like that. So management accountants use enabling and control systems, e.g. strategic planning, budgeting, and performance reviews to guide actions and help ensure the required impact is achieved. Now, for you to have these budgets and these strategic plans, you need to have these data that you have turned into insights, and now you have managed to get good insights, and now you are impacting information decision making to achieve the impact that we are talking about. So whatever you are getting from this data is what goes into the budgeting. For you to budget for the next one, to plan for the next 10 years, you need information that you are basing that budget on. So that's what if a finance professional should be able to achieve for an organization. And specifically, a CGMA should be able to achieve that for an organization. Now, what does this case study really include, or what is expected of you in this case study? So, core activities and assessment outcomes for this case study. So, within each strategic case study examination, 5 core activities will be assessed. And these core activities represent the tasks that are more frequent and critical and important to the senior finance professional role. So these core activities are as follows. So you need to be able to develop business strategy. So you'll be given a case study and you need to be able to identify the strategy of the business model, what it plans, how it's going to achieve it, the models and the plans that it is using to achieve their strategy. And you should be able to identify and understand it in the next 5-10 years from analyzing the case study or the business that you are given in your pre-scene. Now, the next thing should be you should be able to evaluate the business ecosystem and the business environment. So the environment that this business is operating, what kind of environment, what kind of business is it? What are its competitors? What are the policies or regulations that affect that market? What are the benchmarks that this company is targeting and maybe benchmarking itself, targeting itself? What is the downstream and upstream supply chain looks like? What are the constraints? How can we beat the constraints in that ecosystem? These are the things that you need to be able to be figuring out and to be able to demonstrate when you are doing your research. So these things, when you get your pre-scene, these are the things that you start to do deeper research on. You need to go into that exam understanding and knowing all these things. Now, the next thing you should be able to do is to recommend financing strategies. So this is a finance exam. It's a finance exam, and part of the major things that will be there is financing activities, financing strategies. You need to be able to determine the best finance for a company if they seek financing by looking at the makeup of that company's financial structure, optimal structure, and things like that you have studied in your pillars, and need to be able to apply it to that case study and to support why you are saying this is the best finance for this company. You know what is required in F3, and that's what you need to be applying on this one. The next thing you need to be able to do is to evaluate and mitigate risks. So you know that the P3 pillar is all about risks throughout. And you need to be able to identify the risks that are affecting the organization. You need to be able to rank them by their seniority or superiority, and to determine the likely impact of its costs of impact of each of it on the business, and definitely being able to determine a mitigation structure to mitigate each of those risks and their impacts. This is very important for a finance professional to be able to do that, because the finance professional is the backbone of an organization in terms of that. And then the last thing is you need to be able to recommend and maintain a sound control environment. Now, after identifying all these risks, you need to be able now to say, okay, how can we mitigate? How can we reduce these risks? What can we put as controls to make sure that these things do not happen, or they happen at a minimal level, or we can transfer them to an insurance company, for example, or how can we even avoid them totally? And you have a sound policy of that in your organization, and you need to be able to now be following and seeing the risks as they are coming. If they are new, you need to be able to update your risk register and be able to mitigate risks before they come handy. So in your attitude as a CGMA, you need to have the I can principle. So this is you saying you can do everything. You can achieve all these things that we have mentioned for your organization or for your company. So this statement must be part of your thinking and approach in doing these exams. So you need to be able to be the one finding the solution in that exam. Now, in this exam, there will be a lot of ways in which questions will be asked, and the terminology of questions or verbs that are used in structuring the questions can really let you know the length and depth that is required in you answering those questions. So definition of verbs in structuring questions and exams is important for you to identify what the question is looking for. For example, questions like to say evaluate this and that, and you need to be able to understand what evaluation really means. What are you doing? Are you advising? Are you recommending? What does it include? Counseling, informing, notifying, appraising, assessing the value of, proposing a course of action, things like that. You need to understand what analysis means. So I want you to download this thing. You can find it on CIMA. You just say the CIMA verbs. You find this document, you download it, and you will understand all these things and what they mean when they say analyze the scenario below and provide maybe strategies and things like that. What do they mean? What do you need to do? How are you expected to analyze the detail of what you have learned or what you are being asked? What do they mean when they say application or apply your mind in answering this question? What are you supposed to do? So this document details for you what is expected, what the question means, and what you need to do. So you can see comprehension of things like describe, distinguish, explain, identify, illustrate. What does it mean? So this one explains for each of these things what each type or verb of questioning means. The knowledge part, use, state, define. What does it mean and what is expected of you? If you are taught to define, do you end up explaining everything or you just define? If you are taught to state, what do you do at this level? So you need to be able to express fully and clearly the facts that are given or that are being requested. So you read this and you understand each and each of these ones. So it's an important thing that I need to stress now, because you may understand the whole concept of doing research, the whole information that you need for a case study. But if you do not understand the verbs of how they question you and what is expected of you when such a question comes with this verb, then your whole study will not mean anything, because you won't be able to answer at a level that is expected. If they say advise, you need to be giving counseling, informing, or notifying. If they say evaluate, you need to be appraising or assessing the value of it. It means you are looking at two things: assess, you look at this, you look at that, and at the end of the day, come with a sort of a conclusion of what you think your assessment or will give rise to, or what will be the conclusion between the two that you've been looking at. That's an assessment, that's an evaluation, an assessment. Recommending, you're proposing a course of action. So you have to give your final recommendation to say, I think this thing should go this way because of 1, 2, 3, because you are recommending. So look at this document and it will guide you on everything that we'll be doing moving forward. Thank you. Let's meet in the next part of this how to deal with a case study episode.